Slayers, and welcome to another episode of She Slays the Day podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lauren Brunslick, and I have not seen the Barbie movie yet. But for all my Enneagram 3s and 7s out there, you know I want to be a part of the hype. we I like had this idea on Monday. I was like, we should have, because there's this whole Oppenheimer Barbie battle, right? Like they both benefited greatly. And I was like, we should have like our team dress up as like whether they were team Barbie or team Oppenheimer. But then I was like, oh, but I know Kirby and Dr. Randy would for sure pick Oppenheimer. And I think that's a World War II movie, right? And then I'm like, well, what would they wear? And then I immediately knew what my husband would do with his facial hair. And I was like, well, then we won't be able to use that photo and Blue Hills Chiropractic will get canceled too soon for a Hitler stash. Damn it, Kirby. So we just went with a Barbie theme and took some fun photos of like different Barbies. Although after, so okay, here, I'm giving you a cute idea. So we just went with like celebrity Barbie, like basically find anything pink at home that you can. It would have been funnier if we would have like roasted each other and we're like, this is always 5 minutes late Barbie. And this is yesterday's mascara Barbie. That would have been me. That would have been really funny and internet gold. So if you're listening to this early enough on, you're welcome. Go do that. It's not too late. But if you're listening a month later, it might be too late. It might be too late. I don't know. Okay, so let's see. Our clinic is currently reading. Oh, I pulled up the name of the book for you. The New Gold Standard by Joseph A. McKelly. It's basically the Ritz-Carlton customer service book. And we're reading it, and as a team, it's really hard to find, just so you know, because I don't know if they're still making it. So if anybody has a team of 9 and wants to buy 9 books from us, I will send them to you. Otherwise, you're gonna end up paying like $20 a book if you want your team to read this. But it is, teaching how they get their entire employees to be on board with this excellence of customer service. So mostly good, definitely would recommend it. But the chapter we were going over today as a team was talking about how like Ritz-Carlton will make notes on you. And like, I don't know. I found the chapter a little bit creepy. Like they're just a little stalkery, just a little stalkery, but who are talking like, how could we keep notes on our patients about like their preferences? Because so what our clinic currently does, we just have a bunch of stuff. We have coffee, $5 coffee cards. We've got $10 pizza cards. We've got can koozies and little mini bottles of champagne. We have frozen like 6-inch cakes just from like the grocery store in our freezer. We've got frozen lasagnas. I'm trying to think. Obviously, then all of our t-shirt and swag. But like we just like to do things for people. We had a kid who was really obsessed with dinosaurs. And when he graduated to wellness, we got him this little dinosaur. So just like little things like that, we try and do. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about of like, oh, this kid loves Spider-Man. And so we're trying to figure out how to systematize this, right? Like any business, you're like, okay, great. How do we make this easy for our teams and systems? So we're like, oh, how do we collect this data? Okay, well, we could put some questions on the new patient paperwork, like what's your favorite snack? What's your favorite this? And then it's like, okay, and then where do we put that? And ultimately, because we do have some initial questions that are like salty or sweet, um, you know, uh, we never reference it. And because it just feels, what's the word I'm looking for? Inauthentic, insincere. Like, yep, you told me 6 months ago when you started care on your new patient paperwork that you prefer sweet over salty. So here's a bag of M&Ms. Like, is weird, right? Like you get that. This is weird. So I was talking about, where the really meaningful stuff comes from is like when you've got that kid and you didn't just ask on the new patient paperwork, like, what's their favorite TV character? And mom happened to say Spider-Man. You got that kid who's always wearing Spider-Man. They're obsessed with Spider-Man. They get on the table with Spider-Man. Having the present time consciousness to go to your front desk and go, hey, I know that Easton is graduating to wellness in a couple weeks. I think it'd be really cute if we could give him a Spider-Man themed balloon. Like one, hello, social media photo gold. But we don't do things for people just for social media. Okay. We do things from the genuine place of our heart. But like, it's those things. I have a patient who has been a weekly patient forever, like 9, 10 years. And I know that she's in the middle of a book series. And I already know that like after this book series that she's probably going to read The Fourth Wing. We've been talking at her appointments about that. And like, okay, what would be a kind thing like to get her that book, like find the book, order it on Amazon, $15. And like, here, I thought about you, like whatever it is, it's these like, we were looking for a way to like systematize authentic, sincere caring and being present and listening for the patients. And we kind of ended being like, oh, shoot, no, we can't systematize this. Like, you just have to be there in that moment with that patient and have the consciousness to do something about it. Right. And so what we did enact, so you can learn from this, we enacted so we use something called Teams. It's basically like a team WhatsApp, or what's the other one? I can't think of it right now, but like, it's just a team communication thing. And we right now have something called Turd Nuggets, which is where anybody puts like something that's like, so and so mentioned they might have to quit care come the fall because they're going to be buying a house. Like, just those little things where it's like, okay, we'll work on that. Well, we decided that we will also have something called Golden Nuggets. And this is where our team will just throw stuff on there. Like, our scanners get so much information, like our insight scan, our techs, like those people who are in the room with them for 15 minutes get so much information. Our CA Kayla was like, yeah, I just found out that our new patient just celebrated 10 years with her husband and they went to Alaska. And so just like the simple things of like following through and being like, I heard you went to Alaska. Like, so we started the Golden Nuggets. And then also, our staff just has a $10 don't ask me authority, like, where if they have an idea of doing something that could brighten a patient's day, they do not need to ask me. If it's $10, just do it. The Ritz Carlton, I think, has a $2,000 just do it budget. So, we're not there yet. But yeah, if it's like a pizza, a this, a that, a book, whatever, like whatever you want to do, that if you come up with the idea, if you want to go get the Spider-Man helium balloon for that kid, like, sounds good. Do not ask me, just do it. Because we have so many good ideas of like, oh, it'd be really sweet if I brought them coffee the next time this or that. And then it's the execution that is also the hard part. So that's where we're at with that. WDC convention. Well, it's actually called the Unconvention because I think it's unconventional. But they only do a conference every other year. So they won't have another one until 2025. So this is happening in Scottsdale, October 12th through the 15th. So coming up here. But good news, tickets to Scottsdale are cheap, real cheap for most major cities. I'm going to be there. Who else is going to be there? Elise Rigney's going to be there. It would have been good if I would have looked up the other people, but I'm going to be there. So that's all that matters, right? No, I don't mean that. So come hang. I think it'll be fun. It's a great hotel and it'll be nice and warm there still. So come see me there. Okay, so today's episode, it's a little, speaking of unconventional, like, it's definitely on the fringe of topics that we talk about here. But here's why I wanted to kind of get this conversation going about like having a personal assistant. So here's the backstory. I don't know if the frequency of posts on the women Facebook page the Women Chiropractic Facebook page on burnout and leaving the profession is increasing, or if the Facebook algorithm thinks that I just really enjoy seeing those posts. Oh my gosh. Hold on. We're going to put a peg on that. I have a funny story about Facebook. So I know that Facebook, hold on. We're going to put a peg in that vulnerable thing I was about to go into and tell you a funny story. I'll come back. So I'm also a part of an Airbnb superhost or hosts group. And so I know my Facebook knows that I like to see these like, what the heck do I do posts? So this person screenshots this conversation. Now, if you have children who are listening, now would be a good time to tell them to leave the room. Yep. Okay. Give you 2 seconds. There we go. So this person screenshots this back and forth between them and a potential guest and is like, "What should I do? Do you think this is real?" And it's a screenshot from this like woman named Crystal that's like, "Hello, I'm looking for a place to film my next porno." I told you to have your kids leave the room, okay? Um, Me and 7 men would like to rent your cabin to film it. We will be great guests. In fact, we need one more. We need one more person to participate. Would you be open to participating in this? And so there's this back and forth that's happening where the person's like, "What?" And so the person screenshots it and sends it to the group and they're like, "Is this real?" Like, what, how do I respond? And like just comment after comment from hosts coming back of just like, "Dude, this is a scam." Like, no, or just like, "I don't know, I'd say yes, sounds fun." Anyways, Facebook has me pegged because I will go, I don't tend to like go down political stuff. I don't go down many rabbit holes, but the comment section of the Airbnb hosts group on Facebook, oh, they get me. They get me good. All right. I remembered what I was talking about. So I don't know if Facebook is just like, yeah, she loves seeing these like tragic stories of women being vulnerable and wanting to quit this profession, and they are absolutely burned out. And I have a lot, a lot. Oh my gosh, I have so much to say to each of these women. I need more information. Like, do you really love owning your own business? Like, maybe you could just not leave the profession, but become an associate. Like, what is your profitability? Can you just like downsize? Can you make your business simpler? Can you hire a coach? Can you do this? I have so many different things. And one of the topics, like one of like the 10 different topics that I would want to talk about with these women is like, are you burnt out because you're spread too thin between your business and your home? Some of these women, and this is not a judgment, not a judgment, um, really just feel this overwhelming guilt that their household is failing. And so they feel like they need to pull back from their business for the household. And if that's a personal choice where like you want to be spending time with your kids, like that's great. But don't like close your clinic to clean your house. Like don't make that swap. So today we are talking about personal assistants. What is one? What are some of the things they'll do? Why do we struggle with outsourcing and delegation? How do we release the shame of asking people for help? Is this a generational thing? And things like that. So I think you're going to really like it. Like I said, we don't talk about all of this stuff, but these are some of the conversations that if I can help, if one or two people listen to this and go, I think that would free up more energy for me. If you listen to this and like, this is bigger. This is bigger than like, should you pay someone to pick up your dry cleaning? Do people have dry cleaning anymore? I'm just like one of those people who wears jeans and yoga pants to practice. So I'm like, what do you get dry cleaned? Anyways, getting your groceries, whatever it is, it's not that kind of a conversation. The bigger root of the conversation is, are you losing your passion for a God given passion? Okay. Are you losing your energy and enthusiasm for talent and a message that God gave you this passion for this career because you're overwhelmed with a time in life where, yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. If you got kids and they have their things and they have socks and they have so many socks and I hate arranging socks, and there's this and they want food multiple times a day and they don't know how to do their dishes. Like, if that topic is what is getting in the way of you having the energy and motivation to continue in a field that you feel called to be a part of, then you need to listen to this conversation. Okay? And even if you're not on the edge of burnout, you know, most of y'all got mad control issues, and you don't even realize it. So, since you can't do therapy with me, and I can well, I suppose you could do the multi-passionate chiropreneur course coming up next year, and I will then one-on-one help you go through all the ways in which you are hyper controlling your career and your business and how it's holding you back. Since we can't do that right now, can you dip your toe in the water of hiring a cleaning person? Like, what can you delegate in your house? And maybe that's where you start to get comfortable. Maybe starting to delegate at the house will allow you to see, like, oh, everything didn't fall apart. Maybe I can start delegating more at the business too. I don't know. I hope that, wherever you're at, you get something good. So let's breathe. Let's pray. Dear God, thanks again for such a great platform to have vulnerable conversations with real people. Today, we really focused on the guilt of being a superwoman, but we all know that, like, we feel this immense guilt and shame and comparison when we are not being superhuman. Um, and it's so hard. It's so freaking hard to remember what you judge us on is so small. And everything that we judge ourselves on is meaningless. And those are the things that are stressing us out. Very few of us are losing sleep because we're just not being a kind, compassionate enough person to everyone in our world. We're losing sleep because, like, we forgot the baked goods. We feel like a failure as a parent. We are failing here. We're not thin enough. We're not rich enough. We're not this. And, like, just let us in this moment remember how you see us and how worthy you see us, and help us to relinquish shame and guilt, because those are not feelings from you. I do like all those are lower vibrational feelings. They do not come from you, that endless source of love and light, those higher vibrational frequencies, support, love. Thank you for you and your endless goodness. In your name we pray. Amen. Endless goodness is it's a hard thing. I like stumbled on that and I'm like, did you just say real words? Did that make any sense? Okay. Oh, I'm gonna probably go to like a prayer retreat in September that my church is happening. Girl, you better wait. My prayers are gonna be off the hook after that. Probably not. Probably not. I will still accidentally swear to God. All right, ready? So, oh my God, you guys, I didn't do her bio. What a hot mess of a woman over here. I just have to make mistakes so you guys don't think I'm perfect. So, we're doing her bio after the prayer. So, now be prepared for my conversation with Kara McKeage. She's passionate about helping successful women ease the mental load with skilled household support. She's the founder of Pepper's Personal Assistants, a sourcing and placement agency for highly vetted personal assistants. She started the business as a side hustle for income and flexibility while raising young children. The company has grown organically to a team of 24 employees. She believes that it's time for professional women to let go of the shame around outsourcing household tasks so they can find more time, feel organized, and have peace of mind. So here is my conversation with Kara McKeage. Enjoy. Also, like, I don't know, I didn't hate doing the bio after the prayer. Like, I'm just saying. All right, enjoy. I feel like one of the things, so like, just like insight, I know you said you were following me on Instagram, so you know a little bit about me, but like, so the world of chiropractic is small. It's a really small world. And there's still a lot of kind of like, I don't want to say the old guard, but like, yes,
Yeah.
there's a lot of still the 50s, 60s, 70-year-olds, men and women that did
Mhm.
things a certain way and they wear the suits and the this. But now I'm mid 30s. I've, had the podcast for 4 years now. And so I've been speaking on stages too. And I just show up with my tattoos and my ripped
That's
jeans and
awesome.
accidentally drop an F bomb. And I'm like, oh, so, and so it is just
Right.
funny. It's this, the like, the millennials are coming in being like, thank you for your service. And I will take it from
Yes.
here. But then like I look at like Gen Z coming and I'm like, oh girl, how are you gonna what's gonna happen here? I don't
I
know.
know. I love it that it's like our society is turning more towards being authentic, and love watching the younger ones coming up and they're not taking any shit.
No,
They're like,
every generation is it is funny though, because like I feel like every generation looks at the older generation with a certain amount of like, let me tell you all the ways that this is broken,
yeah,
and not going to keep working. But then we also look at the next generation and go, let me tell you all the ways that you're going to fail. You have, and
right.
so it's just like, it's just a relevant thing.
It
So
does feel like the gap is getting smaller than how I remember it. Like
you
I
think so?
had, boomer parents and the great generation grandparents. And I feel like people are more open to, I don't know, maybe I live in Seattle, so it's super progressive. Maybe I'm just in a bubble, but
Yeah.
feels
Yeah. I mean,
like,
I live in like tiny town, Wisconsin, and I
oh,
can't say that I
interesting.
disagree. Um,
Yeah.
I wasn't around 20 years ago to know what it was versus now. So how
Yeah.
old are you?
I am turning 50 in
What?
August.
Congrats.
I know.
No, and
Yeah.
I think it's irrelevant. I don't ask every, guest how old they are, but I do think for like today's topic, talking around, being able to delegate and this and that, there is this kind of conversation that's like, well, women specifically just kind of entered the workforce. And,
Yeah.
so I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole. We will get there, but like, let's start
Yeah.
with like your story and how you got to kind of your passion project now.
Yeah. That sounds great. You wanna just dive
Yeah,
in?
go. I already started recording
Awesome.
5 minutes ago.
So, yeah, my background, I've always supported people, in sales or, admin type support, and, I was able to stay at home with my boys for 8 years, and then when my youngest started kindergarten, I was like, I'm ready to get back into the workforce. He ended up getting half day kindergarten. So it was like this challenge of, oh, what do I do with this? I didn't want to put him in daycare, um, personal choice. And so I started kind of brainstorming, like, what am I great at? And that sort of thing. So I started out as a personal assistant, and then had no intentions of starting a company, but it just kept growing and, came to that place where I was like, either I'm going to hire or I'm going to turn people away. And that was 11 years ago. So it's been a really great journey of like learning business and, trial and error and learning to be a leader,
Yeah,
all
because
of
you
that
have
fun stuff.
24 employees now, right?
I think we're up to 27
Okay.
now. So, yeah.
So you have a business that supplies personal assistance to the Seattle area, right?
Yeah, we also do nationwide placement
Oh,
as
okay.
well. So we have the 2
Probably
different
not in Rice Lake,
arms.
Wisconsin, but we'll see.
Oh, yeah, no, anywhere in the US, we can find the perfect PA and help you get started, yeah.
So what is the difference between like a personal assistant and so like I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like the where people start to dip their toe into this balance of like, okay, we have both of us have out of the home jobs or in the home, I don't know, but our time is better spent working or with our children.
Mhm.
And I feel like household cleaning is kind of that first baby step
For
of like,
sure.
I can
Mhm.
delegate this because I hate it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you get a big impact with the house cleaner. That's what I always recommend people start with that.
So then
definitely. Yeah.
what is, because I'm assuming a personal assistant is more in depth. Otherwise, you would
Oh,
be,
for sure.
you're right. So what's the difference
Yeah.
between then like a house cleaner and a personal assistant?
Yeah. So when I started the company 11 years ago, there wasn't really a whole lot of people blazing the trail ahead of me. And looking back on it, I'm like, I probably would have called it a household assistant instead of a personal assistant. That's really, what we are. And so it's doing the chores, the errands, managing vendors. Like if you need a new furnace or you need the gutters cleaned, that person is taking the mental load of that whole task off of your plate, doing the research, getting the bids, being on site, helping you choose which one is best, doing the laundry, going to Costco, all it's kind of
As
like
long as they don't
hiring
take
a
my Target
spouse.
runs. I don't want to delegate my Target runs, but yeah.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, because the joke is Target tells you what you need, right? It'd be
Yeah.
hard to delegate
Right.
that.
I've never heard that, but I love that. I'm gonna let my husband know that. I'm not really sure
Yeah,
what I'm going for. So
yeah.
okay. So my question is, like, do they have any household like handyman skills? Like,
Some do.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we put a lot of effort into matching,
Mhm.
finding out what the client needs are. And so, I always tell people like if you're looking to hire somebody, make kind of a mind dump of what you'd like to get off your plate and then prioritize. So if like, you have a lot of, handyman type tasks that, you're hoping to find somebody to do that when things break down, there's a drip under the kitchen sink or something like that. You'd want to find somebody that has those skills.
So why okay, so I'm like trying to go through why in your experience, either your like was this a personal story for you of like because as you started to do things for other people, you were out of the home more. So then like
Yeah.
did you have to learn to start delegating and like was that a struggle for you?
Yeah. Yeah. And it still is, to be honest. Like, I think some people it comes naturally, especially if they've been in leadership positions in the workforce. It's easier, for people to be like, they don't even think about it. They're like, I know this is going to benefit me to take this off my plate and give it. I'm still learning. Like sometimes I still have the guilt of like, who am I to be asking this person to scoop the cat litter? Like,
Mhm.
but then I think about what I get to do with that time, and it's, building a business that employs people, that helps clients, so they can do great things. And, it's kind of that domino effect. And so, or it's spending quality time with my boys. My youngest is getting ready for his senior year, starting his senior year. And it's a lot of work, like all the university stuff and everything. And so if somebody is helping me with the things that I don't have to do, I get to be present with him in this, last year of hands-on motherhood, So I think, just really focusing on what you get in return helps. So, and you have to like know it's going to take some time. I think that's why a lot of women struggle with delegating is they're like,
Okay.
oh,
Tell,
one
yeah,
more
talk
thing on
more
my
about that.
plate.
Yeah, what do you
Yeah.
mean
Of
it's
like,
gonna take time?
of like, it's kind of that. I think a lot of women that I talk to, they're like, it's just easier for me to do it myself, right? Like, because
Mhm.
I try to show somebody or tell somebody how to do it, they don't do it right. So there is, I tell our clients, like, it's at least a month before, like, you're going to start feeling like, okay, we're getting into a groove, but it's a good 3 months of like, the more feedback you give, the quicker you're going to get to that place. So you do have to put, a little bit of effort
Yeah.
into it. But then after that 3 months, it's like you're in a really good place where it's not even in your headspace anymore, right? When you get a great person who's like they're totally tracking, oh, you need toothpaste or toilet paper, or, we need to get the dog to the vet and, all of that. And it's just huge the amount of headspace you get back once you have that person trained.
I
Um,
feel like I feel like it's easier for me to mentally go like, okay, so like, so we have a cleaning lady and I prefer her to come while I'm at work. Now, that's twofold. One, I'm socially awkward and I don't like watching someone else clean my house would be like, I'm here. The number of times I have tried helping my cleaning lady while she's there. She's like, what
yeah,
do you, I like, here, let me help you make the bed. Oh, here. And she's like, get out of my way. And I'm like, I'm just, ugh.
yeah,
But
yeah,
two,
don't be there.
no, I know, I know, the worst. But two, it's for me an hour for hour exchange that my head is comfortable with of like, okay, I pay her, let's say $25 an hour, $25 an hour. And I am going to go to my clinic and I am going to make more than $25 an hour. And so, like, I think that's probably a good place where people start to be comfortable, right? Like, nobody's really holding on, like, I just want to clean my kitchen. Like, it's like, nope, okay, I could spend 3 hours a week working and making this. Well, no, actually, because I do feel like there is this not wanting to spend. And it's like, well, no, I can just clean it on Saturday. Like, because a lot of people aren't going, like, they have this idea that like there's a certain financial place they need to get to, like they need to be so busy at business. And so, like, what are some of the struggles you see with people like is it control? Is it guilt? Is it shame? Like, what are kind of the feelings in the beginning of why somebody would even struggle to offload simple 2, 3 hours a week of cleaning to someone else, especially knowing they make more per hour than they're going to be paying for that?
Right. I think it's all of those things. I've talked to so many women in particular, and everybody has their own story, whether it's, when I grew up, that was our family time, was we did the dishes together, we did the lawn, or, like, and so there's kind of that family tradition. And then they're like, what's wrong with me that I can't do everything like my mom did? Or,
Mm.
I think, talking about like the generational thing, I'm Gen X. And so, the year I was born was the year that women were allowed to get credit cards without a man's signature, So it's like,
Wait, you're going to be
it's
50.
crazy
I'm
to,
doing the math here. So that's in the
it
70s?
was like, yeah, in the 70s. Before that, women had to have a cosigner, like their father or their husband, to like open their own bank account, and we don't talk about that. So I think we're kind of in that awkward stage where we're like, we can do it all, is what we've been told. But what we don't realize is times are so different now. And so it's balancing that freedoms that we have, but also we don't have to do it all, right? And prioritizing like what's most important to us. The people that I see successful outsourcing is that they get it, right? They get that it's not just I think the money, part of it is good to look at, of like, what can I afford and how much am I going to make? But the older you get to, the less time you have. And so time becomes even more valuable than money. And so getting that stuff off your plate and kind of buying back time is huge.
Hey, She Slayers. So, a question I get asked a lot is what have I found that works best to get new patients in the door? Well, my friends over at the Pediatric Experience have put together the ultimate branding and marketing playbook that does a comprehensive job to answer this question, and they even include a free video training that comes with it. This free guide reveals the secrets to a kick ass, wildly effective marketing system that consistently brings in over 20 new patients every single month. And guess what? It's all organic. Picture this, a proven approach that will grow your patient numbers while you focus on doing what you do best, providing exceptional chiropractic care. Inside the playbook, you'll discover the 5 core elements of this powerful marketing system. From crafting a compelling brand to implementing strategic marketing strategies, they've got you covered. If you know PX, Dr. Tony and that crew, they practice exactly what they preach, and it's no different in the latest PDF plus training they've put together for you. So if you're ready to attract more patients through the door, grow your practice, and dominate your local market, this guide is a must-have for you. So check out the link in the description to get your free download and video training. Hey, She Slayers, are you looking to get your team off the phone and streamline your front desk so you can spend more time doing what you love? Sked has exactly what you're looking for. They will automate all your appointment reminders, missed appointment reminders, reactivation campaigns, allow you to have two-way texting with your patients. Plus, they have a very cool app that your patients are going to love. The app alone saves chiropractors tons of time because it gives patients the flexibility to move appointments to a time that works better for them. Don't worry, you won't lose control of your schedule because you'll have access to all the parameters that keep you still in control. Plus, there's overbook protection, so your schedule won't get out of hand. Sked was created by a chiropractor for chiropractors, so you can rest assured that you're getting the absolute best system for your office. Dr. Eric Kowalski is committed to the chiropractic mission, and he works closely with his developers to always be innovative so that we have the best system available. If you're hesitant to switch to Sked because you already use something else, let me tell you, it's worth every penny. Plus, mention that you heard about it on my podcast and they'll give you a discount. Seriously, it is a game changer. Don't wait. I think you touched on a really important thing. So like so you are the first really like literally like your generation is the first working generation. Like right? Like like cuz you're like I think about my grandparents, they it was uncommon. Were there women working out of the home? Of course there were. Was it
Yeah.
a large percentage? Not at all. So you guys though, I feel and my mother-in-law is 60 and my mom is 62. And so we actually have been talking about this a lot lately of just like I feel like watching let's say the 50 to 65-year-old women right now as a
Mhm.
30 something, it's you didn't show us that it was hard. Like,
Mhm.
I don't look at my mom and I didn't see her breakdown. I didn't see, like, why do you think you're like that, like, span, that 50 to 65-year-old woman who was like, yep, I had children, I cleaned the house, and I
Yeah.
worked as an admin 40 hours a week. Like, why did you not make it look hard?
Yeah, I don't know that I have the answer to that. I don't really have a lot of experience. My assumption is that they hid it, right? There was a lot of alcoholism and, crying in your bedroom at night and feeling unfulfilled and stuck and like I'm thinking about, my mom's generation. Like I think they were excited maybe to have these opportunities and didn't really reflect on
And you didn't
how
dare question
exhausted.
because, like, you could literally see the rights that you were given that your mom didn't. Like, you could, like,
Right.
literally see, like, wow, this is an honor to be given a credit card.
Right,
So,
exactly.
like, the glamour maybe was still there, but I definitely think you're right. Like, we didn't talk about mental health. We didn't talk,
Yeah.
you were just expected. So then, like, in comes us. And we're like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, it's just, like, assumed." I actually one of my best friends, decided to, quit her career and stay home with her kids, and, like so it's not like it's 100%. There's plenty that still do. But for the most part, if you are a high school female and somebody goes, "What do you wanna be when you grow up?" And you go, "I'm gonna be a stay-at-home mom," like, a record would skip in the back of the room, like, "What?" Like What?
Yeah.
And that's not meant to be offensive to anybody listening who is that, but like it's just the reality of like you probably said you're
Yeah.
gonna be a teacher, or you probably said you're gonna do this, and like learned later that you were happier being at home. But so like my generation comes in and it's much more acceptable to talk about mental health stuff. And now we're starting businesses. So like not that working 40 hours a week in like the more traditional admin or whatever like initial jobs were allowed for women, or like were like more, teacher, well, I suppose there was teachers, nurses, all that. So not even that, but like now it's like, oh, wait a minute, I don't want I'm out of the house full time, and you see like this house is a full-time job, like,
Yeah.
and the children. Okay, here's another question. I don't even know that I got to my first question. Maybe here's my second question. Do you think that nowadays running a household is more complicated because of children's schedules?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we're way more involved in our kids' lives, and I mean, I think about like when I went to school, there wasn't all the paperwork, the beginning of the year, like as a mom, that first week is just awful, right? It's like it feels like every day there's like this packet you have to fill
Mhm.
out, with all, tell me about your kid and, like all the
And this day's
permissions
dress up
and
day, and this day's a different dress up day.
right.
And this is
Yeah, there
bring
wasn't all
one
that for
photo.
us.
Yeah, my kid last year for her birthday needed to bring one picture for every year of her life. And I'm like, awesome, cool.
Yeah, it's
I
impossible for working moms to keep up with all of that, and that's another benefit of a personal assistant. They can fill out, the
go into
address
my
10
Google
times
Drive.
on the 10 different forms and, all of that. So, yeah, it's definitely harder and all the activities and things that we want for our kids and running around, to gymnastics and piano
Mhm.
and all of that. So,
One thing I do think that Gen Z, so yeah, next one, is go I hope for them what they will do better is that they will enter a relationship not with the superwoman syndrome, but the like together, like we are choosing to work, and together we have this household. And so hopefully the women of Gen Z won't feel like this is my fault. So do you see women being the primary ones that are hiring the services? Like, do you have men?
it's very mixed. I would say it's probably 50-50. If the wife is an executive, they're calling, right? If they're, a C-suite executive, they're used to it and they're calling and they're like, I need help. Oftentimes we see husbands that are like, I really want to help my wife. She's overwhelmed, but I don't have the capacity and it's not how I want to spend my time, right?
Just picturing, I mean, it's kind of a romantic gift.
No, I think
I
it's a
would take one.
huge
Yeah.
gift.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
take it, but I'm just picturing like you don't spend enough time fixing things around here. You're not with the
right.
fam. I gave you a person.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it shows like, "Hey, I care about you. We don't have to be the ones to do this." Like I one husband called and he goes, "When I come home from work, I wanna be able to sit down, have dinner, enjoy, like, bath time and bedtime, and not be like, oh, we've got a meal plan and do the dishes and the laundry and, all these things in there." That we're often doing after work. So I think it's brilliant. There's also, I think, a change in our society because we're talking about it more. And I am hopeful, like you said, the next generation will kind of start at square one with relationships. I don't know if you've heard of the book Fair Play. It's awesome. And like my client manager, she's a very young millennial and she just got married and asked for it like on her for gifts or whatever. And I was like, that's so cool. They don't even have kids yet. They're just getting married. Like, what an awesome thing. But it's all about the load that women have and making sure that it's equal. And there's actually like a card deck with all the things, that take to run a household and have kids, and like going through them and dividing them up. It's not necessarily 50-50, but at least it's like intentional where, both people are involved in all the tasks. And the what is it, Bureau of Labor just came out in 2020 that women are doing like 3 hours a day of the household chores and tasks, and it doesn't even include all the child
Mm.
things that we do, and men are doing a very small fraction of that, even working moms,
Did they say
so
what men on average do?
I can't remember, but it was less than an hour.
Oh,
It was like 0.7 hours or
right.
something.
And I feel like
So,
I should have started this episode by maybe I'll throw it in the intro too of like I have a very different situation where my husband is probably absolutely my husband carries both the like I'm a working husband but I'm also a dad and like the house husband like so
yeah,
he's probably like yes I oh so actually I know he feels that way because we just looked at hiring a virtual assistant for our businesses. And so
right.
I'm the one who because I have no problem like delegating. It took me a while. Like it took me a while like when we only it was only me and another doctor and two front desk. Like I just but like you do get to this point and it's probably why it's so easier when you said you have a C-suite person. Well, they're like
Mhm.
used to delegating everything in their life. Like you start to
Exactly.
get to the point where you're like, well, I'm not gonna go get the Jimmy Johns. Like I'll pay $7 for someone to deliver the Jimmy John. Like, but
Right.
most people are way before that where they struggle with this delegation. So I'm like, all right, listen, we've run this podcast long enough and now we have this Airbnb and we're like doing all these courses. We need a virtual assistant. So I like book this call and the lady's talking about all the like social media stuff and like all the ways that, a VA can help the businesses. And in this scenario, because I went in thinking like I'm comfortable with 2 or 3 hours. Well, this company that I happened to find on Instagram is like a 40-hour a week commitment. Like they're like, no, we don't do
Oh,
part
wow.
time. And I'm like, well, all right. So I'm like, oh, this just isn't going to work. And so I get off the phone and she sends like the follow up list, like 9 pages of things that a VA will do. And it's like website, blah, blah, insert words, right? So my husband is looking at it and he's like, oh my gosh, this would be amazing. This would be amazing. This would be amazing. They can do this. I'm like, oh, this would make your life easier. And so it's just like this funny where we have a little different situation where I'm like super comfortable delegating. But he's over here like trying to do all the things, but he's not good at cleaning the house. And I don't think he'd be upset with me calling him out on that.
Right.
So the what is it? Okay, so we talked about like the shame, but like,
Mhm.
is that really it? Like, is that really why people struggle to delegate? Why like I don't feel like that's the root of
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things, and sometimes it's a combination of things even within the person. It's, seeing your neighbor or the woman in the PTA at the school who just seems like she has it all together, right? And it's like she looks great, she's got her career, her kids are, have their school lunches every day, and you're just like, how is she doing all of that? I should be able to do that too. And I bet you that person has some support because it's like I always say women are superheroes, but even superheroes need support, right? Like every superhero has a sidekick. And we don't have to do it all. And it's getting over that,
yeah.
whatever it is that's holding you back.
You're right. Like, I think you touched on something there for me personally, because like, if it's just my little bubble of like
Mhm.
my family, and you're like, Lauren, would you feel bad about having a personal assistant? Be like, hell no, I wouldn't. Like, take it all this stuff. But showing if like it's like, okay, so what this is going to mean is that actually the personal assistant is going to drop your kids off at practice and then they'll swing into the gym and drop off the baked goods that they did. All of a sudden I'm like, oh, when I started having to compare in my head to
Yeah.
like what other moms are doing, that's where it
Mhm.
started to get a little uncomfortable. And in my head, I can go like, yeah, but she might work part-time. She might be a stay-at-home mom. Like she
Right.
might be getting a divorce. Like we don't know any of her story. Maybe she does have
Yeah.
it all. But no, that's where it did start to get like, oh no, because I'm competitive. So in your
Right.
head, you go like, well, and I feel like a lot of like women who are needing to do it all, their achiever mindset, right? Like it's like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have the job, I'm gonna have the body because we didn't throw that
Right.
in there. Like you also
Right.
have to be skinny and
The
attractive
self-care.
while you do
Yeah.
all this stuff and like self-care Sunday. So you have to do all of that too. And it's like, oh, yep. It's
Yeah.
that image. Are we doing a disservice to women by telling them, yes, you can do it? Like, I feel like just briefly, I've started to see messaging change, like with people like you and stuff. But like, I feel
Yeah.
for a very long
Mhm.
time, the messaging was like, you got this. You can
Yeah.
do what a man can do and handle the house.
Right.
And she's like, I can?
Exactly.
Okay. It doesn't feel like I can, but okay. You're saying I
Yeah.
can. So
It's super convenient, right? It would be awesome if we could. And the more you tell people that, they think that that's the case. But I think we're starting to wake up. And I haven't seen the Barbie movie yet, but I saw a clip of one of the scenes where it addresses that of like, you're expected to be this, but not this, and, do this, but not that. And, we're waking up to the fact that, hey, we get to, design our lives and who we want to be and where we want to spend our time. And I think, in order to do that, you need support. You can't do it alone. So
right. Do you feel like, let's see, how do I want to ask this? Do you feel like it is acceptable from like like the 60-year-old? Okay. Like the women who were older than you, who were doing like the like fighting for the
mhm.
rights. Do you feel like they still judge the like need for help?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I actually don't know a lot of people in that age group. I've watched women in their 50s because I'm turning 50 next month. And like, it's been so inspiring. I know people kind of in the 55, 56, where they're just opting out. During the pandemic, they let their hair go gray. They look gorgeous. They're like, I'm not keeping this up. You know, um, I think that people are just really starting to think about like what they want their lives to be like. And I don't think they're judging, anybody. I think they're liberated of like, I get to be who I want to be and live the way that I want to live, and feel that way, kind of live and let live. In my experience, I'm sure that's a limited view, but yeah.
I'd like to take a moment to thank one of our primary sponsors of the podcast, Insight CLA. The Insight tech moves the message off the spine and into the nervous system, where the magic of the adjustments can be measured and tracked. Everyone from newborns to seniors are being scanned in my practice and in thousands of other practices like ours, so they can be examined and inspired to choose chiropractic care. It's like an instant referral machine because the scans are so visible and informative. Like, what patient wouldn't want to know how their nervous system is performing? The staff at CLA are ready to take care of you and answer any questions you may have. They also have an incredible online academy that can help train everyone in the office and help them to feel confident on how to get perfect scans and how to interpret the results. We have been using the Insight technology in our clinics for over 7 years now, and it is a complete game changer for conversion, retention, and patient education. Click the link below in the show notes as She Slays listeners get preferred pricing and hundreds of dollars off their purchase. Hi, friends. I wanted to take a quick break from the episode to make sure you all know about the cool stuff we have happening over on Patreon. This is a platform where I can offer you extra content, behind the scenes interviews, quick trainings, and exclusive trainings answering your exact question live, back to back with me. It's a way for me to more directly interact with you and post some fun things that would never be in the normal weekly episodes. To check out what we're doing and to sign up, click the link in the show notes. Hey, She Slayers, I have partnered with Well Aligned and Above Down Apparel to give all of my listeners something really special. So listen up, don't skip. A free premium t-shirt. Okay, you get a free t-shirt. So just head over to wellaligned.com/she slays to claim your listener offer. That's all you got to do. Above Down has the coolest and most comfy chiropractic tees that showcase your personality. My favorite is the Mabel. I love it. They're super soft and a great conversation starter if you do seek conversation with, your patients. We call it table talk. What more can you ask for? So I've also been using well-aligned materials for years to educate my patients. They have high quality ROF folders, patient handouts, office forms, posters, and a ton more. So why recreate the wheel when there's a perfectly designed communication tool ready for you to help educate and inform? Head over to wellaligned.com/she slays to claim your free t-shirt. And I'll drop a link in the show notes so you can check it out. So, what is your advice for a woman who feels like she's being stretched very, very thin? Not in a good way.
Yeah.
Just kind of has entered burnout of trying to do all the things, but they can't offload as much as they mentally would love to. Like,
Yeah.
what are some of the ways of, like, filtering through? Like, what's your advice for that person?
Yeah, so I think first thing that, like, if you're in overwhelm, look at what's on your plate and see what you can just put on the back burner. Like, that's kind of step number one. Cancel, whatever it is that you don't want to do or don't need to do, because that frees up your headspace. And then you can, like, a lot of times I think we just need to relax, right? We just need like quiet, a clear mind, and rest. And I don't think we do that enough. I've kind of learned that the older I get, that's, gold. Make sure you're getting sleep, you're getting outside in nature, movement, good food, all of that stuff is kind of, step number one. And then see if there's things that you can delegate, like, to your family. Like, I have two boys, they're 17 and 20 now, but I'm like, when I'm going through like a crazy time at work, I'll just say to them, hey, I'm going through a lot. I need your guys' help. Let's come up with a plan of, like, can one of you do dinner one night, or, take care of,
They're not crazy asks. You know what's
yeah.
weird here? I literally didn't expect like, my head didn't predict that as a suggestion of, like,
Oh, yeah.
ask the other humans in
Yeah.
your freaking house to
Yeah.
fold some damn socks. I'm like,
Yeah. For
yeah,
your
that's
listeners
a
out there that,
good piece of advice.
yeah, for the listeners that have small children, one thing, if I could go back to when my boys were small, and I think boys especially, is teaching them to be observant and to find things to do, right? Because that's the other thing as moms. We are managing the whole household, all the tasks, all the things, and it's exhausting. And so teaching, and I've started it now that they're older, but I think it would have been way better, of, like, instead of me asking you to do something, look around and see, like, are there towels in the dryer that need to be folded?
How
Or,
do you teach
um,
that?
well, I think when they're little, you could play a game that's like, let's look around the house and see what needs to be done, right? That we
Yeah.
could do
You're
as a
teaching them
family
to
or
see
something.
like you do.
Yeah.
Does this work for husbands too, you think?
Oh, no. I'm lucky I have a partner like your
Yeah.
husband who, like, I hit the jackpot with. He's amazing, and it's very much, equal. But, The other thing oh shoot, I lost it.
I'm
I was
sorry. I
oh
am terrible at interrupting people.
Oh, no, no worries. The other thing is neighborhood kids, right? Like even something as simple as like, hey, can you put our garbage out on garbage day and put the bins back or, take the dog for a walk or mow the lawn, those kind of little things. Or if you have little ones that you could, get like the 12-year-old down the road to come be like a mom's helper when you're home of keeping the kids entertained while you're, working out or, whatever
Mhm.
it is that you need to do. So just kind of getting creative with like who can you afford to
Right.
outsource to. And I think outsource as much as you can afford. Like that, is always my recommendation. So
Yeah, and, like, afford is a hard word because it's
mhm.
like, I mentioned that it's easy for me to go to work and, like, my head can, like, do that, but, like, afford for, like, if I only work, 1 full day and 2 half days. So, like, on a day where I'm recording a podcast and then I'm gonna take my kid to go get pedicures or whatever, it's just like, oh, wow, I am paying someone right now. Like, I'm in the red today. Like, mentally, I'm in the red because it's
Interesting.
just like,
Yeah.
but, and I get it. Like, but quality time with your kids, like the
Yeah.
mental
It's
space.
priceless.
Yeah. And it is, I've also just kind of seen the more I try and prioritize that is like going into the weekend, not feeling like we have all these things we need to do. Like
Yeah.
just constantly like I am a different mom when I've just had more space to move through the week. Not
Mhm.
necessarily like a more fun mom, but like a definitely a less stressed out. I just don't like play,
Yeah.
but a less
It's
stressed.
hard to be present with your kids when you've got you're like, oh, you're juggling all these things in your head, that you can't be present. And so when somebody else is taking care of that stuff, it's like, and I found I had to, and I still do this, but I catch myself quicker, is like, I feel stressed even though I have nothing to stress about because I think that's just like default for
Get
mom, business
used to.
owner,
Mhm.
right? It's like there must be something I should be stressing about. And so I have to tell my body, like, there's nothing to be stressed about. Your team's got things covered, your kids are fine, like,
But we
you're
get
good.
addicted to that, like, I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's like just being aware of like, I'll do the same thing. I'll be like, okay, your kids are playing, they're healthy. There's no problems in this business. There's no problems in this business. You've worked out today. You've got laundry
Yeah.
going. You're good. You're
So just
good. You
relax and
don't.
enjoy it. Yeah.
Yep. But, like, just struggling to sit and just read a book when it's like, well, instead you could be cleaning. Instead you could be
Right.
this. Okay, so
Yeah.
I would love to know, take me behind the scenes a little bit from you personally with growing this company. Like, so this is a lot of entrepreneurs. So I'm just super curious on just like the business workings of stuff. So like what's some of the like unexpected struggles or like funny hurdles that you've had to come over or overcome and process with growing a business like this?
Yeah, it's been really, really interesting. I think one of the biggest things is just leadership is much harder than I would have thought. Like it's different when it's your own business and you're the owner. I've always gotten along really well with people, but when they're working for you and there's difficult situations and difficult conversations, like that's been really challenging, but it's been exciting because I'm learning. I'm kind of a sponge where I'm like reading all the books, watching all the, YouTube videos and everything. So it's been a huge growth opportunity. And then, yeah, learning all the business stuff is just like, figuring out like if I could go back, I would have told myself, you don't have to do all the things. There's a lot of things that you're supposed to do as a business owner. You don't have to do that. You can create the business that you want that fits into your life. And so that was a really excellent lesson once I figured that out. And then hiring the right people at the right time, like the experts, like, hiring somebody to help me kind of get over my fear of sales was huge, where I learned that it's just relationship building of like telling, it's like you listen to people and hear what their pain points are, and then you tell them if you can help them or not. And that's all it is. And marketing and hiring people to help with like processes, and there's a lot that goes into running a business that there's no way you can know until you're in it, all the things. But
Right. Okay, I have a random, like my ADHD was like, "Oh, I should ask her this." Okay. How and this is the dumbest question. This is the dumbest question. I run a business and I can sit down as a boss and give constructive feedback to
yeah,
like, "Hey, so I've noticed your customer service." Like, I know how to do that. Yet, when it comes to someone who is intimately involved in my personal life, I feel so like not guilty, like guilt appreciative of like, oh God, you're cleaning my dishes from last night. Like, it's like almost like dehumanizing in my mind that they're having to do that. So I don't know how to give criticism to that person
yeah,
because I'm just so like, oh, we should just be grateful that anybody's willing to do anything. And like, literally, we have had some terrible cleaning ladies that like, the, I just didn't have the gut to fire them because I was like,
yeah,
can't or give feedback. So like,
yeah.
how would you recommend for somebody? Because all right, your answer is going to be like, they're an employee, they blah blah blah.
No,
Okay, how can I do that without being like, can you
I'm going to
stop?
tell you, right. It's extremely common. It's hard. Like it's hard. And I don't, have you heard of Radical Candor, the book Radical
Yes,
Candor?
I haven't read it. But
It's
yeah,
they have a podcast also that's
okay.
really good where they answer people's questions, like real world kind of situations. But it's it's all about like making sure you are showing gratitude and taking as many opportunities as you can to thank the person. And then you can squeeze in some, hey, I really appreciate that you're doing XYZ. I'd prefer if you did this way. And if you hire the right person, like we hire based on values, we want that person who's like, I love helping people, I love making their life easier. That person is going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you told me, that's an easy fix, I would love to do that for you and make your life better. Right.
Right. Like if I had someone who I was worried that they were going to be upset that I dislike where they put my shoes every time or like put the vacuum away. Like it's probably a good self-check of like, are they the right person? Like it doesn't feel like you trust that they can handle that feedback. And
Yeah.
therefore, like, are they the right person to continue like trusting with this responsibility in your life?
Yeah. Well, and another thing that we do, like at Peppers, is we have a household guide. And like the first 3 months, we're really building that up. So it's like all the preferences that the client shares, we put in there so that, the person can review it and be like, oh, they like their shirts folded this way, or they want,
Mm.
things done a certain way. So it helps too that you don't have to go back. But that's kind of the work I was talking about earlier. The more clear you can be right from the beginning of
Yeah,
like,
it's less
these are my
awkward if you do it from the
preferences.
beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they can't read your mind. I always say I'd be a billionaire if I had that magic wand where I knew what every client needed at every minute, but you have to communicate it, up front
But
too.
then,
So,
like, I know your people would like this is what they're used to, but like the average person is going to worry about coming across like an 80, not an 80, a control micromanaging freakazoid of like, and I've created a chart. And this is where like this here are pictures of like, oh, I could do that. I could take
people
a
appreciate that though.
do I
Like if you, yeah, the more clear you are, that's a Brene Brown, clear is kind. The more clear you are, the easier it is for that person helping you as well. So I wouldn't worry about that part
I don't know.
for sure.
Wow. Well, I appreciate I love when, we get to have episodes about we do a lot of episodes on the podcast that are about chiropractic and hiring and firing,
Right.
and, like, I love when we get to talk about just some of the dirty, messy real life, like, that we're all, like, feeling a little overwhelmed and, like, here's just kind of an obvious solution. So
Yeah.
where can people find more of you?
Yeah, so our website is paseattle.com. And then I love connecting with people on LinkedIn. So, I'm there under my name or also Pepper's personal assistants. We have a business page as well. So those are good places to connect.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. She Slayers, check that out. And, if you need some encouragement on taking that next step, you can always DM me. I will rave about any help that anytime I've ever delegated, I've not looked back. And I think that's something that a lot of chiropractors can relate to of like, it was difficult to delegate this part of their business, but then once they did, they didn't ever want it back. They're like, nope,
Yeah.
nope. So, and I think I'm assuming it's a very similar thing with, yeah, with the personal world. So thank you so much,
Yeah,
Kara. I
definitely.
appreciate it. And She Slayers, until next week. Bye.